Now, the Subway Final Word.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Bill Phillips, and welcome to the Subway Final Word, the show that invites you, the fans, into the conversation. You can get your opinion on TV right here every Sunday night. And let's get started by introducing you to tonight's three panelists, afternoon host, 105.9 The X, Mark Madden.
In my favorite shirt, Bill.
It's a beautiful shirt. We also have John Steigerwald from the Pittsburgh Podcast Network.
That's my favorite shirt too, Mark. I really think it looks nice on you.
It does look nice. And from Trib Total Media columnist, Rob Rossi.
Freak out. Freak out.
Some of the topics we'll be talking about tonight: the mental makeup of the Penguins. Is their team discipline going to hurt them? Goal scoring against good teams. The Pens are falling short. Is it time to be concerned? And March Madness, the best sports playoff system, or do you like something else even more? First, tonight's big topic: Ben Roethlisberger, a 5-year deal, $99 million. The total number smaller than some of the other quarterbacks around the league. The yearly number near the top of the NFL quarterbacks. Do the Steelers need to win another Super Bowl to justify the money they paid Ben Roethlisberger? Mark, you're up first.
Well, let me throw these names out there: Landry Jones and Bruce Gradkowski. So if you think there was an alternative to giving Ben Roethlisberger this deal, I'm afraid I've got some bad news. Now, in Baltimore, Flacco's cap hit made their defense fall apart, but that's no problem for the Steelers because their defense is going to fall apart no matter what. They had to sign Ben. Whether they win another Super Bowl or not, it's really of minor concern. The Steelers try to be competitive all the time. Ben gives them a chance to be competitive for the foreseeable future. But this next year, it's going to be tough to predict. Ben in that offense, that's an 11-win offense, but they got a 3-win defense.
John?
I think you have to at least get to a Super Bowl, and I think it's an easier question to ask maybe a couple of years into the contract when you're looking at how much money you still owe him and you see where the team is, and if you see it's going nowhere, then it becomes time to cut loose the big money and try to use it to rebuild. But Ben Roethlisberger and the Steelers haven't won a playoff game in it'll be 5 years if they don't win one next year. That'll be longer than any time since before Chuck Noll. And in his last 4 playoff games, he has 4 touchdown passes and 7 interceptions with a passer rating somewhere in the 60s. People like to talk about Crosby and Malkin not producing enough in the postseason. You can say the same thing about Ben Roethlisberger if you're just looking at statistics. So I think you could make a case for shortening the length of that that contract sometime during the 3 or 4 years down the road here.
Rob?
Well, look, I mean, Ben Roethlisberger has 116 victories, counting the playoffs, in his tenure. Cordell Stewart, Neil O'Donnell, Bubby Brister, Mark Malone, and Cliff Stout had 143 total. So this is absolutely a steal for the Steelers. Even if he isn't the quarterback he is now for the final 2 years of that deal. They have nothing better as an option. They have very little talent around him on the other side of the ball, and it's a quarterback league. So I don't think they have to justify this contract at all. This made sense. He's the best Steeler of his generation.
Yeah, but it makes less sense 2 years from now if he's making $20 million and you're looking at a team that's going to be 4-12. That doesn't make any sense to pay that kind of money. It's time to cut loose and rebuild. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but there could come a point where it's not justified to pay him that kind of money. Right now it is.
If they're 4-12 in a couple of years, I guarantee it won't be Ben Roethlisberger's fault.
Yeah, but the $20 million will still be there.
Teams with franchise quarterbacks like Ben Roethlisberger don't rebuild. They have a chance every year because they have that quarterback.
All right, gentlemen, we need to move on. A reminder to keep the comments coming. You can find us on Twitter at WPXI Final Word or on Facebook at The Final Word. From Twitter now, Ben's worth every dime. Would you rather ever be in Cleveland's shoes with an endless search for a quarterback? Not me. Pretty good point for those who criticize the Ben signing. Mark?
Exactly. Regardless of what Ben's accomplished in the past, 2 Super Bowls and another trip to a Super Bowl, Ben right now, right this second, and for the foreseeable future, is without a doubt one of the top 5 quarterbacks in football. There was just no choice to make, although in a couple of years, I bet Johnny Football will be out of Cleveland and ready to play somewhere on the cheap.
He may be out of the Cleveland Browns organization this year. From Facebook, Chad Burkhart writes, don't put the wagon before the horse. Got to make the playoffs first. And with the defense or lack of defense we have, we won't make the playoffs this year. John, did this contract leave them enough leeway to make the defensive improvements necessary?
No, not necessarily because of the contract, just because they have too many holes to fill, and there's not enough money under the cap, no matter what you're paying your quarterback, I think, to rebuild that defense in 1 year.
Rob?
I agree with Mark. I think it's maybe a 5 or 6 win defense.
Rob?
The defense stinks, and that's why Ben Roethlisberger's paid what he is, because he's going to have to elevate that defense, much like early in his career, they relied on that defense to elevate the offense in many situations. This is not a defense that's going to get fixed quickly because the Steelers don't know how to construct a defense in the modern NFL. They believe in the pass rush, and if you look at the teams that have won recently, it's not about getting to the quarterback. It's about being able to prevent the ball from getting to the receiver with your defensive backs. That's not the Steelers' way. That's not their philosophy. It's why they're behind and why they're not a championship team.
Rob, thank you. Cornerback Patrick Robinson is scheduled to visit the Steelers coming up soon. Next on the Subway Final Word, a troubling weekend for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Do they lack the mental makeup to succeed in the postseason? Pittsburgh Girl 15222 says yes. Mentality in the playoffs is key. All teams that make the post have talent. Doesn't matter if you heard what you heard. Doesn't matter if your head isn't straight. Thanks for the comment. I can't read. The panel debates whether I can read. Coming up next on the Subway Final Word.